Let me ask you something that might sting for a moment. What if your entire financial destiny, your future comfort, your freedom, your kids' opportunities wasn't decided by luck or by your salary or by the government, but by one simple, quiet decision? Do I become an owner or do I stay a spectator? Because most Americans spend their whole life in the stadium cheering, complaining, stressing about money. But they never step onto the field. They never own the game. They never own the stocks. And tonight, I want you to really ask yourself, are you one of them, a dear family of dreamers? Welcome. I'm talking to you as if we're sitting at a table late at night, the world quiet, just you and your thoughts and the sound of a clock ticking somewhere in the background. You know why I like that image? Because money and time are always in a silent conversation, and most people don't realize that time is either working for you or against you. Most Americans never invest in stocks. They work, they earn, they hustle, but they never become owners. They rent their lives month to month, paycheck to paycheck. Not because they're stupid, not because they're lazy, but because nobody ever taught them how to think like owners. I want you to picture someone you know, maybe it's you. They wake up early, they drive to a job they don't love, they come home tired, open their banking app, and see the same thing every month: bills, rent or mortgage, gas, groceries, maybe a little left, maybe nothing. And somewhere inside a voice whispers, I guess this is just how life is. That voice is the most dangerous investment advisor in America. Because once you accept this is just how life is, you stop asking the question that could change everything. How do I make my money work even when I'm asleep? There's a hard truth most people don't want to hear. In this country, you are either an owner of productive assets, or you are honored by your expenses. Stocks are not just green and red lines on an app. They're pieces of real businesses. The coffee you drink, the phone in your hand, the store you walk into, the medicines you take. Somebody owns those companies. The question is, are you one of the owners, or are you just a customer forever paying the owners? Let me tell you a story. Years ago, there was a man who worked a regular job, not a banker, not a CEO, not a genius. He was a quiet, ordinary worker. His colleagues laughed at his old car, his simple clothes. He never flashed anything. He packed the same lunch almost every day. Every month, he did one simple thing. He took a piece of his paycheck and bought shares of strong companies. No drama, no gambling, no chasing the next big thing, just steady ownership. He did this month after month, year after year, decade after decade. When he passed away, people were shocked. This ordinary man had become a millionaire, not because he won the lottery, but because he quietly has refused to live his entire life on the sidelines. He chose to be an owner. Now, here's the part most people miss. He didn't start rich. He didn't have perfect timing. He just had the one thing almost no one has, a long-term mindset. Oh, compare that to another person. Maybe this one looks more successful. On the outside, new car every few years, latest phone, expensive clothes bought on credit, always treating themselves because you only live once. They earn more, but they're always broke. They feel rich for a weekend and poor for the rest of the month. They don't invest because I'll start when I earn more. I don't want to lose money. Stocks are risky. I'll figure it out later.
Later, someday.
When things are better. That word, someday, has killed more financial dreams than any market crash. Someday when my debts are gone. Someday when I get a raise. Someday when the market is safer. By the time someday arrives, their most powerful asset, time, is gone. Oh, respected viewers, listen carefully. Your biggest risk is not that you will buy a stock and it goes down. Your biggest risk is that you will go through your entire life and never own anything that grows while you sleep. That's the quiet tragedy of most Americans. They are smart enough, they are hardworking enough, but their mindset is trained for consumption, not ownership. They know how to buy things, but not how to buy assets. They know how to pay everyone else first, but not how to pay themselves first. The system will never force you to invest. Your boss won't force you. The school system won't force you. Your friends probably won't either. But your future self is silently begging you right now, please start owning something. Don't leave me with nothing but regrets. Imagine meeting your future self at age 65. In one version, they look at you with tired eyes and say, we worked for 40 years and we never owned a piece of anything. We gave our best years and ended with scraps. In another version, they look at you with gratitude and say, thank you for being brave enough to think differently, because you started small, because you invested consistently. I don't have to panic about every bill. I can breathe. Which version do you want to meet? There's a reason most Americans never invest in stocks. Not because it's impossible, but because emotionally it feels uncomfortable. It feels safer to hold cash. It feels safer to do what everyone else is doing. It feels safer to say, I don't understand this stuff. But let me tell you something harsh and true. Doing what everyone else is doing is exactly why most people are stuck. If you follow the average habits, you get the average result. And the average result is no meaningful investments, no ownership, no freedom. Think about the messages you grew up with. Don't talk about money. Rich people are greedy. Investing is gambling. Be happy with what you have. Some of those lines sound noble, but they quietly train you to stay small. There is a difference between being grateful and being stuck. You can be deeply grateful for what you have and still build wealth. You can appreciate your present and still invest in your future. That's not greed, that's responsibility. I want you to remember this sentence. Every dollar you don't invest is a worker you refuse to hire. If you spend that 100 on something forgettable, it's gone. If you invest that 100 into a strong business, you've hired 100 tiny workers to go out into the world and bring back more for you. Most Americans never build that army of workers. They keep showing up to work alone. Tired, stressed, and frustrated, while the people who invest have money working for them 24/7. Again, are you one of the people with workers out there? Or are you doing it all alone? Let's talk about fear. Fear is the number one reason people avoid stocks. They say, what if I lose money? Let me ask a better question. What if you never give your money the chance to grow? Yes, markets go up and down. Yes, there are crashes. But if you zoom out over decades, companies grow, innovation grows, economies grow. The people who win aren't those who never see red days. They're the ones who stay in the game when everyone else panics and walks away. Most Americans never invest because they want guarantees. I'll invest when it's safe. Let me tell you a secret. The moment it feels 100% safe, the opportunity is usually gone. There was once a young man who kept saying, I'll start investing next year. Next year turned into 5 years. 5 years into 10. In that time, the market crashes, rebounds, booms. He watched it all from the outside. He read headlines. He had opinions. He argued at parties about the economy. But he never owned anything. One day, he finally ran the numbers. He looked at what would have happened if he had invested just a small amount every month during those 10 years. The difference was painful, not just in dollars, but in what those dollars represented lost time. You can earn back lost money. You cannot earn back lost time. Of respected viewers, you do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be rich to start. You just need to stop being a stranger to ownership. Owning even a small piece of a great business changes something in you. You stop thinking like a victim of the system and start thinking like a participant in it. You stop asking, why is everything so expensive? And start asking, how do I own the companies that are raising prices? You stop being only an ass consumer and you start being an ass co-owner. That shift is where financial maturity begins. Most Americans will hear messages like this, nod their head, maybe feel inspired for a few minutes, and then go right back to life as usual. No change, no action, no ownership. You cannot build wealth on inspiration alone. You build it on decisions, discipline, and time. Maybe your first step won't be big. Maybe it's just learning what an index fund is. Maybe it's opening a brokerage account. Maybe it's putting in a small amount every month. Small is fine, staying at zero is not, because zero ownership means zero compounding. And zero compounding means you are relying only on your back, your hours, and your energy in a world where others are relying on their assets. So tonight, I want you to sit with one uncomfortable but powerful question. If most Americans never invest in stocks, am I going to stay most Americans, or am I going to quietly step out of that group? You don't have to announce it to anyone. You don't need to post it online. Just decide deep inside. I refuse to live my entire life without owning anything that grows. Because the moment you decide that, your relationship with money begins to change. You stop seeing every dollar as something to spend and start seeing it as a seed you could plant. Some seeds you'll plant badly. That's okay. Some seeds won't grow. That's okay too. But if you keep planting, keep learning, keep holding strong businesses through time, you give yourself a chance that most people never give themselves, the chance to be more than a spectator, to become an owner. And this is just the beginning. In the next part, we're going to dig deeper into how people sabotage themselves financially, the common excuses, the traps, and the emotional patterns that keep most Americans out of the market, and how you can break those patterns calmly, intelligently, step by step. So before we move forward, take a breath and ask yourself quietly, am I ready to stop being ordinary with money? Because from here on, we're going to talk about what it really takes to think differently and act differently in a world where most people never invest at all. Let's go there now. Because the truth is, most people don't miss out on investing because of numbers. They miss out because of narratives, stories they tell themselves about money, about risk, about who they are. If you don't change the story, you'll never change the strategy. Oh, think about the first money story you heard growing up. Maybe it was, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Rich people are lucky. Don't be greedy. Those lines sound normal, almost harmless. But they quietly train your mind to believe money is scarce. We are always behind. We are not the kind of people who win. And when you deeply believe, I'm not the kind of person who gets ahead financially, how likely are you to say, How me buy a piece of a great business for the next 20 years? You won't, you'll say? I can't risk it. I'll probably lose. This is for other people, not for me. That's the first sabotage. You disqualify yourself before the game even begins. Let me give you a picture. There's a young woman, let's call her Emily. She grows up in a family where every conversation about money ends in stress. Bills on the table, parents arguing. Some months the fridge is full, some months it's not. She learns early. Money to stress, money fights. So what does she do when she becomes an adult? She avoids it. She avoids looking at her bank account. She avoids planning. She avoids the word investing because it sounds like one more thing to worry about. She swipes her card. She pays minimums on her debts. She works hard, but emotionally, she is always trying to escape money, not master it. If you feel like this, hear me carefully. You are not broken. You were just trained to fear the very thing you need to understand. And until you rewrite that internal link, until you stop associating money with chaos, you will never feel strong enough to become an investor. Another pattern. Most people are raised to be fast, perfect employees, not thoughtful owners. School teaches you. Get the right answers, don't make mistakes, follow instructions. But the market doesn't work like a classroom. In the market, you just will be wrong sometimes. You just will buy something that goes down. You just will make imperfect decisions. If your whole identity is built on I must never be wrong, then of course investing will terrify you. So you stay away. You stay safe. But that safety costs you decades of potential growth. Then there's the comfort trap. People say, I'll start investing when I'm more comfortable financially. But comfort grows like a shadow. You get a raise, your lifestyle rises. You buy a nicer car, you eat out more, you upgrade your phone. Suddenly, the amount you need every month has grown, and you're still telling yourself, I'll invest when I have extra. You don't need this extra money to start. You need different as priorities. Because every time you choose comfort over ownership, you're voting against your future self. Let's talk about debt. Debt is one of the biggest silencers of investors in America. Credit card, student loans, car payments, buy. Now, pay later. You don't feel like an owner because every dollar you earn already belongs to someone else. It's hard to dream about building wealth when you feel like you're digging out of a hole, and many people think, I'll start investing after I'm completely debt-free. Sometimes, yes, that's wise, especially if the interest is high. But here's the mindset danger. If you spend 10 or 15 years only thinking about surviving debt and never practice the skill of owning assets, you may finally get out of the hole and still not know how to build anything. You learn how to pay the past, not how to invest in the future. So while you work on paying down what you owe, you must also work on upgrading how you think. Because the mind that created your old financial life cannot be the same mind that builds the new one. There's another sabotage most people never see. Social pressure. You might be ready to invest, but your circle isn't. You say, I'm putting money in an index fund. They say, why? That's boring, man. You say, I'm cutting back a little. I want to invest consistently. They say, come on, live a little. You only live once. You say, I'm thinking long term. They say, the market is crazy. You're going to lose it all. So you have a choice. You can fit in or you can grow. Most people choose to fit in. They will postpone their freedom to avoid awkward conversations. They will stay broke to stay like. You must decide who you want to impress more, your friends today or your future self tomorrow. Our respected viewers, I want to gently challenge you now. Look at your own patterns. Do you avoid checking your accounts? Do you tell yourself you'll start later? Do you wait for the perfect time to invest? Do you let other people's fear decide for you? If yes, then it's not the market that's blocking you. It's your own story. But the good news is stories can be rewritten. So how do you begin to break these patterns? You don't start with a wild bet. You don't start with a meme stock. You don't start with options, leverage, or crypto hype. You start with a clarity. First, ask yourself, what kind of financial life do I actually want? Not just a vague, I want to be rich. That's not a plan, that's a wish. Be specific. I want enough invested so that one day my assets can cover my basic life expenses. I want my kids to never have to start from zero like I did. I want the freedom to say no to a job that crushes my soul. When your vision is clear, discipline becomes lighter. Because you're not just sacrificing. Your eyes are building. Next, you shift from ask reaction to eyes allocation. Most people react to money. Bill arrives, pay it. Card limit opens and spend it. Sale pops up, you swipe. Owners allocate. They decide in advance. A fixed percentage of my income will go to investments every single month, no matter what. Maybe for you, that's 5%, maybe 10%, maybe more, maybe less. The exact number is less important than the habit, because the habit says, I pay my future self first. That one decision separates you from most Americans. Then comes education, but not the kind that overwhelms you. You don't need to know every financial product. You don't need to predict every market movement. Start with simple principles. What is a stock? What is an index fund? Why does long-term compounding work? What does owning the market mean? You can learn this. You watch long videos, you listen to podcasts, you scroll through social media, you have the attention and the intelligence. Imagine if you gave even a fraction of that attention to understanding how ownership works. Ignorance is expensive. Every year you delay learning, you quietly pay the price in lost opportunity. And then there's consistency. Consistency is boring. That's why it works. You invest when the news is good. You invest when the news is bad. You invest when the market is up. You invest when the market is down. Most people don't do this. They invest when they feel excited and stop when they feel afraid. Their money has moods. Their strategy changes with the headlines. You cannot build wealth on mood swings. You build wealth on rules, simple, calm rules you follow for years. Let me share another story. There was a man who always waited for the perfect moment to invest. When the market was booming, he said, "It's too high. I'll wait for a crash." When the market crashed, he said, "It's too scary. I'll wait till things stabilize." He stood at the door of opportunity for 20 years and never walked in. In the same period, another person started small. She didn't time the market. She just invested every month into broad, diversified funds. Sometimes she bought at high prices. Sometimes she bought at low prices. But most importantly, she's bought at the end of those 20 years. Guess who had wealth and who had a collection of almosts and somedays? This is how most Americans miss out, not because they don't have access, but because they spend their life waiting for a comfort that never comes. There's one more pattern I want you to really see. People underestimate how long wealth actually takes. They want fast results. They want overnight change. They want their first few investments to change everything. When it doesn't happen, they quit. Imagine going to gym for 2 weeks, not seeing abs, and saying, "This doesn't work." You'd laugh at that logic in health. But people do exactly that with money. They invest for a short time. They get impatient. They compare themselves to others online. Then they say, "This isn't worth it," and stop. Wealth is not a sprint. It's not even just a marathon. It's a way of ass walking through life. You walk a little smarter. You walk a little more intentional.
You walk with ownership.
Day after day, year after year. And then one day, you look back and realize you walked yourself into a completely different reality. Respected viewers, by now, I hope you feel two things: a bit uncomfortable and deeply empowered. Uncomfortable because you recognize some of your own patterns. Empowered because now you know if those patterns are learned, they can be unlearned. If most Americans never invest in stocks, that doesn't have to be your story. You can break the chain. You can be the first in your family to say, "We're not just working for money anymore. We're making money work for us." In the next part, we're going to take this even deeper. We'll talk about Oz building a personal philosophy of investing, how to stay calm when others panic, how to connect your investments to your purpose, and how to move from anxiety to a quiet, confident relationship with money. So as we move forward, I want you to ask yourself one more question. If my money habits are a reflection of how I see myself, who do I want to become? Because once you decide that, your strategy, your consistency, your patience can finally line up with the person you're meant to be. We've talked about patterns, fear, stories. Now we're going to talk about something deeper, who you are when the numbers move, because anyone can feel confident when the market is up. Your real philosophy shows up when things are down, when headlines scream, when your friends are panicking. That's where most Americans exit the game, and a few quietly build their future. First, understand this. The market is not just a place of prices. It's a battlefield of emotions: greed, fear, envy, impatience. Those four emotions quietly control most people's financial decisions. They buy because others are buying. They sell because others are selling. They feel smart when prices rise and feel foolish when they fall. If your emotions are your only guide, the market will own you. If your philosophy is your guide, you can own the market piece by piece. So what does a calm, wise philosophy of investing look like? It starts with one belief: I do not need to predict every move. I just need to participate in long-term growth. Most Americans think investing means west the right stock at the right time at the right price. That mindset turns the market into a casino. A better mindset says, I'm not here to guess. I'm here to own productive businesses for a long time. You don't need to catch every opportunity. You just need to avoid the big mistakes and stay in the game. And let's bring this down to earth. Imagine two investors. The first one, let's call him Mark, has no philosophy. He has reactions. When a stock goes up 20%, he feels like a genius. When it drops 20%, he feels like a fool. He checks prices every hour. His emotions follow every tick. He buys whatever is trending and sells whenever he feels uncomfortable. After 10 years, he has scars, stress, and stories, but very little wealth. The second investor, Sophia, has a simple philosophy. She believes in owning broad parts of the market. She believes in time in the market, not timing the market. She believes that her future is more important than today's noise. She invests consistently. She doesn't look at her portfolio every day. She doesn't panic when there's a crash because she already decided in advance that volatility is the ticket price of long-term returns. After 10 years, she may not have the perfect portfolio, but she has something much more powerful, a habit of ownership, a calm mind, real assets. The difference between Mark and Sophia is not luck, it's philosophy. Respected viewers, I want you to start building your own philosophy right now, not a copy of anyone else's, not a script from social media, something that matches Skive. Your temperament, your goals, your values. Ask yourself, am I willing to hold investments through scary times? Am I okay being boring while others chase excitement? Do I want to own a few great businesses or broad index funds or both? What percentage of my income can I commit to investing no matter what? Write your answers down. Seriously, people write love letters, bucket lists, New Year resolutions, but almost no one writes their odds or rest money philosophy, and then they wonder why they feel lost. A powerful philosophy might look something like, I invest a fixed percentage of my income every month into diversified, long-term assets. I accept that markets will rise and fall, but I won't let short-term noise drive my decisions. I own assets not to impress anyone, but to create freedom and stability for myself and my family. I will avoid unnecessary complexity and stay focused on what I understand. My goal is not to get rich overnight, but to become financially peaceful over time. You can change the words, you can refine it, but having more of something like this is like having a compass in a forest. You might still face storms, but you won't forget where you're headed. Now let's connect investing to something people rarely talk about, purpose. If wealth is just about more, you will never feel satisfied. No one will feel enough. But when wealth is about alignment, about supporting the life you're meant to live, everything becomes clearer. Maybe your purpose is to give your kids opportunities you never had. Maybe it's to take care of your parents with dignity. Maybe it's to support causes you believe in. Maybe it's to buy back your time so you can do work that actually matters to you. When your investments support your purpose, you stop seeing them as cold numbers. You see them as silent allies, slowly building the bridge between who you are today and the life you're meant to live. There was a man in his 50s who once said, I don't need a sports car. My dream is to never have to say yes to a boss I don't respect. That was his purpose. He didn't care if anyone thought he was rich. He cared about sovereignty, the right to walk away from anything that insulted his soul. So every dollar he invested wasn't just for retirement. It was a vote for his freedom. Think about that for yourself. What is your version of freedom? What does a peaceful financial life actually look like? Because without that picture, it's very easy to drift back into mindless spending, mindless scrolling, and mindless complaining. Most Americans never invest in stocks, not just because of fear, but because they've never truly connected money to meaning. They think wealth is about status. It's not. True wealth is about as options, say the option to rest when you're tired, the option to help when you see someone in need, the option to say no when something feels wrong, the option to live by your values, not just your bills. Investing is how you slowly purchase those options. Every share you own, every fund you accumulate, every year you stay consistent, you are buying back slices of your future. Now let's talk about peace, because what's the point of wealth if you feel anxious all the time? A real investing journey isn't just about a bigger account balance. It's about becoming the kind of person who can hold uncertainty without losing themselves. You learn to say, the market is down today, but my plan hasn't changed. You learn to say, I don't need to check my portfolio every hour to feel secure. My security comes from my strategy, not from today's price. You learn to say, I trust time. I trust discipline. I trust the power of owning quality assets. This calm doesn't come overnight. It grows as you take action. It grows each time you stay the course instead of panicking. And slowly, you realize something beautiful. You're no longer chasing money in desperation. You're partnering with it with respect. Respected viewers, I want you to imagine a different version of the average American. Imagine a person who understands basic investing, owns broad pieces of the market, lives slightly below their means, invests consistently for decades, doesn't brag, doesn't panic, doesn't chase every shiny opportunity. From the outside, they might look ordinary. Simple clothes, normal car, average neighborhood, but quietly in the background. Their assets are compounding. While others argue about politics, they're increasing their ownership. While others stress over every headline, they keep their eyes on the next 10 or 30 years. One day, people will call them lucky, but luck was not the architect of their life. Their philosophy was. Now imagine you in that role. Imagine yourself 10, 20, 30 years from now, looking back at this moment. The moment you watched a video titled, Most Americans Never Invest in Stocks, Are You One of Them? Maybe this isn't just a video. Maybe this is a doorway where you decided, I will not live like most people. I will not be only a consumer. I will become an owner. I will respect my future enough to act for it today. You won't be perfect. You will make mistakes. You will feel doubt, But as long as you keep moving, keep learning, keep owning, you will not be in the group of people who reach the end of their working years and say, I had 4 decades and I never once let my money work for me. Most Americans never invest in stocks. That's a statistic, but it doesn't have to be as your identity. You can be the exception, quietly, calmly, powerfully. You can be the one who breaks the pattern in your family, the one who teaches your children what ownership looks like, the one who shows by example that you don't need to be born rich to die with dignity, freedom, and peace. We've walked through fear, stories, patterns, philosophy, purpose, and peace. There is one more step in this journey, a final emotional pulling together of everything we've discussed, a conclusion that ties your financial future to something even bigger than money itself, to your identity, your legacy, and your inner calm. Take one slow breath. In and out, let everything we've talked about settle for a moment, because this was never just a conversation about money. It was a conversation about who you are willing to become. Most Americans never invest in stocks. That's not just a line, it's a mirror. For years, that statistic has quietly said, most people will trade their time, their energy, their youth, and never become owners of anything that grows without them. Tonight, that mirror turned towards you, and you had to face a question that almost no one asks honestly. Am I just going to repeat what everyone else does? Or am I going to step out of the crowd and build something different? If you've listened this far, it means something important about you. You are tired of being a passenger in your own financial life. You are tired of watching prices rise, companies grow, while you only participate as a customer. Somewhere inside you, there is a quiet, stubborn voice saying, I was not born just to pay bills and die. I was not born just to worry about the 1st of the month and the 15th of the month over and over again. You were born with the capacity to understand, to decide, to build, to own. You may not have grown up with the language of investing, but you can learn it. You may not have had good examples in your family, but you can become one. You may have made mistakes with money in the past, but those mistakes do not have the right to define your future. I want you to picture 2 timelines side by side. On the first timeline, you hear this message, you nod, you feel inspired for a night, and then life swallows you back. Same habits, same excuses, same avoidance you pass. You work hard, you do your best, but you never own much. You always feel like life is slightly ahead of you and you're chasing it. On the second timeline, you hear this message, and instead of just feeling inspired, you take it personally. You say, I refuse to stay in the group called most Americans. I choose a different path. You start small. Maybe it's opening that account. Maybe it's learning about index funds. Maybe it's automating a tiny monthly investment. You feel awkward at first. You feel unsure. But you keep going. Months turn into years. Years turn into decades. You don't become a billionaire overnight. You don't become a financial legend on social media. But quietly, steadily, you become something far more rare. A calm owner. A person whose money is not a source of constant panic, but a tool that supports a life of meaning. You have enough saved, enough invested, enough growing quietly in the background that you can finally make choices from wise freedom, not fear. That second timeline is not fantasy. It is built from boring, unglamorous, repeated decisions. Decisions that most people are too distracted to make. But you are not most people. You're here. You're still listening. That alone says something. Listen closely. We live in a world that constantly shouts, buy this now, upgrade this now, prove your worth with what you show. But real wealth with whispers. Plant this now, so you don't have to panic later. Real wealth is quiet. It's the absence of financial anxiety when the car breaks down. It's the ability to help a family member when they're in trouble. It's the peace of knowing you're not one paycheck away from collapse. And that peace often comes from one simple practice, owning pieces of productive businesses and letting time do what time does best. You don't have to become obsessed with money. You don't have to worship it. You don't have to make it your identity. In fact, the healthiest investors don't. They see money as a servant, not a master, a tool, not a god. They respect it. They direct it. They don't let it define their worth. That balance is what I wish for you. Not an endless chase for more, but a grounded, calm relationship with money where you own enough that you can focus on what truly matters. Your relationships, your health, your purpose, your inner peace. Maybe right now your numbers are small, maybe your debts are big, maybe your situation looks impossible, but never confuse your ass starting point with your ass ending point. Every great financial story starts with the first uncomfortable step. The first dollar not wasted. The first share bought. The first month you choose investing over impulse. You don't need to see the entire road tonight. You just need to take the next intelligent step, and then the next, and then the next. If you do that, the road will reveal itself over time. So let me ask you one final question. When history looks back at your life, will it say, this person lived like most Americans, worked hard, worried often, and never became an owner? Or will it say, Against all odds, in a world of distraction and fear, this person chose a different path. They invested with patience. They owned real assets. They built freedom not just for themselves, but for the ones who came after. That decision is not in the hands of Wall Street. It's not in the hands of your boss. It's not in the hands of the government. It is at your hands right now. So as we close, I want you to carry 3 truths with you. First, you are capable of understanding money. You are not too late, not too dumb, not too small to start. Second, ownership is a mindset before it is a portfolio. Start thinking like an owner, and your actions will begin to follow. Third, true wealth is not just a big number. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you have built a life where money serves your values instead of suffocating them. May you have the courage to step out of the most and become one of the few. May your future self look back at this moment with gratitude, not regret. And may your journey with money lead not just to abundance in your accounts, but to abundance in your heart, clarity in your vision, and a deep, unshakable inner peace that no market crash can take away. Now, go build the financial life that your soul has been quietly asking for all along. You deserve that freedom, and the first step can start today.